just an MRR perspective, we're hovering from like 10 to 13,000 a month.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Another student spotlight interview here for you with yet another successful student, as it's in the name, from Client Ascension, my boy Hunter, who's not too far away. I'm in Tampa. He's over in St. Pete. What's going on, brother?
What's good, Andre? Happy to be here.
Likewise, bro. I'm really excited to unpack your journey. I know part of the way through going through the program Client Ascension, you made the move to Florida, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's go back to like the original, like who is Hunter Eastland and what are you currently working on?
Yeah, so I'm running a cold email lead gen agency. We started basically this time last year. So at the end of the year, started at 0 and then joined CA in March. And then now we're working with 11 different marketing agencies and SaaS companies. Just keep trying to push it further and further.
Wow, bro. So this time last year, joined in March. So what were those first 3-ish, 4-ish months like running the agency without outside help? It was probably just you, unless you have a partner or a team I'm not familiar with. But what were those first couple of months like?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The beginning of my journey was pretty hectic as is because I was still in college. I graduated college in May, and I actually worked a job in a startup like remotely in marketing. I knew once I graduated, I didn't want to continue working at the startup. I wanted to kind of do my own thing, run the agency. So I started doing the cold email stuff. And the first couple months was hard, honestly. I learned a lot through the free content, on Twitter from your profile, Christian's profile, obviously Daniel's stuff. But it was just a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of just learning through my own failures. That's how I got my first client, sending emails, iterating, getting on calls, eventually closing some deals. Once you join the community, you're able to learn from other people's mistakes. So you don't have to go through that same painful process like my first couple months were.
Absolutely, bro. So it sounds like you were bound to be successful regardless, right? You already knew the steps to take. You were an action taker, which is the number one thing. You weren't afraid to fail. You were going through all the same steps that we know to go through. And so that's awesome. You were bound to already succeed and you were having some success. First off, how'd you hear about Client Ascension?
I was actually in Daniel's original funnel for internet money, which is like a low ticket program. I don't think he does that anymore. I kind of got started with back in the agency space doing that. And I followed all of you guys on Twitter. And I actually have a really unique story. I think I told this to Christian one time. I was in college. I was in a sales class and I was really interested in sales, talked to the professor after class all the time. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm doing like this lead generation stuff on the side. And he was like, oh, that's cool. We worked with the company that did that before. Andre and Christian, Knowledge X. And I was like, so this guy had only been a professor. It was his first year teaching. But previously he was like a sales director and he actually worked with Knowledge X. He was one of your clients.
No way.
And so at that point I was like, these guys aren't just like Twitter gurus. They're legit. That was like the biggest form of social proof. Obviously I loved all of Daniel's stuff. And so after that I knew, I was like, once I get to a point in the agency where I have some traction going and I feel like I'd be a better fit, I knew right then I was going to join.
Dude, that's hilarious. I had no idea. All right, so basically what we got to do then is set up a campaign to all of like the sales professors at universities and just get them as clients. And then we'll get all of the college students to get in through their professor. That's awesome, bro. Super unique. I had no idea. We've worked with a college professor before, but that's awesome. Shout out to him. We owe a referral fee. So if you're listening, definitely shoot us an email and maybe we'll come through with that. You bring up an interesting point too, like you're kind of in your mind, and this is a lot of people, right? If you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself in your mind, like, yeah, I'm going to join, it's just a matter of when. I guess what went into your decision, Hunter, to decide like now, like right now is the right time for me to join? Because it wasn't like all of a sudden you heard about it and you jumped right on. It was like premeditated, like I'm going to join. It's just when certain things are in place.
I think the number one thing is you go on the opt-in page and it's like, we don't work with beginners. So I wanted something to at least prove to myself like, hey, I was still a beginner when I joined, but like I have some competence in this field. I can contribute something to discussions. And I joined once I had my first client already signed and then like another under contract. And once that second one hit under contract, I was like, okay, I kind of want to pour some gas on the fire.
Keep the momentum going.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. What you said is like, I want to bring something to the table. And I think that's what makes client ascension so great. It's not just you're coming to the community to ask, ask, ask. Like you've even been able to go in there and provide value to others that are where you're at. And as a result, you probably got clients from it and all these other things. There's so much untapped value by just being able to provide to the community. That's literally how I became business partners with Daniel, is I joined his program and added value to the extent of which he was like, I want to partner with this guy. You take it to, and again, like going back to your pattern of action items and what you've done leading up to the program, like it's not surprising at all that you've been successful with it. So when you joined, what was like the biggest thing you needed help with at the time?
It was definitely fulfillment. Obviously, I was still super green to everything. So, I wanted to get more clients. I wanted to get more client results, but I had figured out on my own, through cold email, how to start getting calls on the calendar. But I needed help closing those deals. And I really needed help fulfilling on the clients I was actually getting. I was doing a lot of performance-based work. And let's just say those first couple months, I wasn't making a ton of money.
You weren't
So,
performing.
yeah, exactly. I think initially, the first couple months was really dialing in the whole front end of the business, the marketing, then the sales. The second half of my time in CA was just operations, learning how to make that first hire, learning how to automate things in the business, and then learning where to like actually focus my time, kind of start operating as a business owner and not as like a freelancer.
Love that. Yeah, because when you say like fulfillment or operations, not everyone knows what that is because there's different meanings to it. So the fact you broke it down in the specifics, right? Like hiring, managing, like being a good CEO, where to allocate your time as the CEO, different automations you could set up to make your life easier and make your whole backstage process look good in front of the clients, right? Like onboarding is something we teach a lot about in the program. I love how you broke it down into specifics with fulfillment. I guess what's something on the fulfillment side that you did that you would say was like night and day different thing? Was there one thing you could point to?
Definitely making the first hire, just hiring an inbox manager. That changed everything because before then I was trying to fulfill 10 clients on my own. Making that first hire is intimidating. I think of myself as a smart guy, a guy who can figure out stuff, but it can seem intimidating. And I kind of honestly waited too long to make the first hire. I was doing a lot of work on my own. I had my student success coach push me. He's like, no, you have to hire an inbox manager. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's a very hard thing for entrepreneurs to do because entrepreneurs don't think that way. They don't think as like employees, right? Like we're business owners and we're thinking of like really high ambitious goals. Then when you put together a scorecard or the job opportunity for say an inbox manager, it's not really exciting. And so you have the limiting belief is like, why would someone want to be in this role anyways? You have a very hard time believing that this is a good opportunity. And so you can't sell something you don't believe in, just like you can't sell a good offer. It's really interesting to see how closely related the hiring funnel is to the actual getting clients funnel. It's literally an exact replica. Same beliefs, same thought process, same mechanics, everything. One of the things you mentioned there is the student success coach. This is something we started doing like right after you joined, I believe, or right as you joined. So you got in at the right time. And now anyone who joins, they get an assigned a dedicated student success coach whose goal is really exactly what it says in the role is they want to make sure the student is successful going through the program. So what was that experience like? How did that add to the value of the coaching program?
it was great. So like from day one, I got initiated in the Slack channel, and then boom, Chris, my student success coach, reached out to me. We set up like a one-on-one call. He talked me through my goals and he kind of gave me a complete game plan of how I was going to reach that goal. And sure enough, month over month, we looked back at it and everything elapsed almost perfectly. So like the biggest thing was number one, having someone walk you through what inputs are going to be required to get your goal, and then actually providing that accountability to make sure you're hitting those inputs. Those were like the two things that drove the most success.
Making it very clear the things you should be focused on right now. Because the thing with client ascension, we'll get into this next, but there's coaching on marketing, sales, fulfillment, all aspects of the business. And at certain moments in time, you only need help with like one thing. And so it's really hard to like drown out all the rest of the noise and just focus on this one thing, which is what student success coaches help you to do. Just really dialed in to-do list and then the accountability of actually going out and doing those things, right? As you know, we're busy. It's not always that we're going to get done everything we say we will. So it's helpful to have someone there to check in on us. So I guess as a result of doing these things, working with the student success coach, implementing an inbox manager, like what were some results you've seen in your business? I know you said you're working with 11 clients now, which is awesome. What are some other things? And it doesn't have to just be like number of clients or MRR. Like those are some of the least exciting things to me. There's better things that come from running a business. Like I know you want to get into real estate investing. So talk about what business growth you've experienced and what that's done for you in your personal life even.
Yeah, so from like just an MRR perspective, we're hovering from anywhere from like 10 to 13,000 a month. And that's with some of these clients being really new. And so we're still trying to ramp them up, get their offers right. And then what that's done for me, I think the biggest thing is giving me freedom, not just freedom in terms of like location, but like freedom in terms of schedule. I made the move down here to Florida, but I think the biggest thing is it's just giving me like an opportunity to continually grow.
And you're young, right? I mean, how old are you? You're in your 20s?
Yeah, I'm 24.
24, yeah, it's crazy, bro. Like, that's my favorite thing looking back at like all the experiences I've had being in business. It's like, even if I lose everything, the MRR, the clients, the money that I've stacked up to this point, it's like I've become such a better person as a result of going through the trials and tribulations, because we didn't spend much time talking about it, but there's a dark side to doing business as well, right? Like the day-to-day of running your own business, yeah, it comes with freedom and it comes with great earning potential, but there are struggles that we have to go through. And I feel like it's so hard for people to relate to that, because a lot of people are just an employee, and so they get in, they check out, and they don't have to deal with what's happening behind the scenes. But that's a big part of what we do. So going through those experiences, although they're tough, they make you like such a better person, and you can show up better in all other areas of your life, all other relationships that you have in your life. And so it's an underrated win that comes from building a business. Love to hear that, bro. And I think you've attended some of the calls in Client Ascension with Mario, who has a big focus on this with mindset and just becoming a better man in general, which has been super helpful.
To expand on that, the mindset training was super crucial. And then just, I think overall as a program, everybody's going to, before they join the program, they're going to think, I want to go from this MRR to this MRR. I want to see this much business growth. But like the biggest testimonial I can give to the program is it just helps you actually develop competence. Competence in how you're actually running the organization, competence in sales and marketing and in the operations side of things. You just become a better operator and a better business person.
Absolutely, bro. So many benefits. It's insane, honestly. We could talk all day about the personal benefits as well. But the biggest thing I want to get into next here is like with any coaching program or course that you go through, there's also the dark side, right? Like someone will go through Client Ascension and they won't make it onto a student spotlight interview because they didn't get the results they had initially set out to get. And so why do you think you were able to go through the program and have success? What are some of the things you did to contribute towards that? Whether it's going to coaching calls, showing up in the community, asking questions, what did that look like?
You hit on it perfectly. I think the number one thing is actually showing up to the calls, getting the value, because I know at 1 week they put out a leaderboard on like who attended the most calls. I didn't win, but I was like in top 5. I was like number 4 for like the month. And like that coincided with one of my best months in revenue, like one of the best months in growth. So I think you just learn a lot kind of through osmosis, just being around people in the community, being active in the Slack channel, obviously going through the actual course material and implementing.
Exactly. Just being like an actual part of that community, you're saying.
Right. So I think that's number one. And then number 2 is what I learned in CA is that it really just comes down to how much inputs you're putting in. Like how many sales assets and content are you putting out? How many cold emails are you actually sending? How many calls are you actually getting on? Do you have enough volume in all these areas of the business? It becomes mathematically impossible not to see growth. You can see the guys who have like the biggest wins. You'll look at them and be like, oh, this guy has been logging more hours than anybody. He's been posting more times on Twitter or YouTube than anybody else.
That's literally, I think the problem people run into is they do the input and they expect the output in their own time frame, right? So it's like, oh, I YouTube video, but I didn't get the subscribers, right? Or I posted the sales asset and I didn't get the lead, or I sent the cold emails and didn't book the calls. And they're only focused on the output of the thing that they're doing within their own time construct, right? And this is where one of Daniel's most infamous sayings comes from, which is nothing happens for the longest time, then everything happens all at once. But there's a reason why he says that. It's because if you stack enough inputs over a long enough period of time, eventually it'll come back, right? With outcomes that you wanted from the very beginning. But it's not to your expectation. It's not like when you post 10 YouTube videos, you'll have 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but if you tie yourself to the output, you'll most of the time be disappointed about something that was never in your control anyway. So I always think that's fascinating. I think it's cool though, bro, like specifically with your stories, like you're taking this vehicle of growing an agency and having some cash flow from an online agency that is really like a comfortable freedom lifestyle for you down here in Florida, and now wanting to roll that into real estate. Kind of talk about that plan, because I know, or not everyone watching this is like, I want to build an agency, do 100K or a million a month, right? They want to stop at 10K, 20K, 30K, keep it casual, keep it consistent, and then use that cash flow elsewhere, which I think is a great strategy. And so what does that look like for you?
So for me, I want to get into real estate investing and then actually doing some general contract work. And not only has this provided the upfront capital, the leverage and time to do so, but it's also given me some hard skills that are going to be crucial for like the next levels in business I go into. So like the skill of generating leads, that transfers across any industry. The skill of sales is going to transfer across any industry. And so my plan is to kind of take the skill set that I'm developing in my current vehicle and start to go up the chain and transfer it to higher leverage business opportunities going forward.
I love that, bro. It's really smart, and it's something that I'm looking to do as well. And everyone should. Like, if you're making money online, like that's not the end of it, right? You should look for investment vehicles, and I think that's great. So Hunter is someone to follow. I'm excited to just see where that journey takes you, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot from you as well going forward, because you're now on a path that I've yet to be on, that I want to be on. So, and for the rest of the audience too, where can they follow you online? Because I'm sure you're sharing some of your learnings as you kind of pursue this next step.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Hunter Eastland. That's the best place to find me. YouTube and more coming soon.
Love it, bro. I love it, man. Every time we get on these calls, it's like, yo, Twitter, nothing else. And most people are kind of surprised by that, but like Twitter is the place to be. It's the best community, I think, out of all of the different social media platforms. Congrats on all the success. Congrats on moving to Florida, maybe one of the biggest successes you talked about in this interview. It's a great place to live. And I'm excited to watch what you do over these next couple of months and years even.
Yeah, Andre, appreciate it. Appreciate you and the whole team. Couldn't have done it without you guys.
Appreciate you, brother. All right, good stuff.